Hey, Jay.
Well, hello, Natalie.
Good morning. How's it going?
I'm delightful. How are you?
I'm just swimming right along. I'm jumping into it because honestly, we've got an amazing guest and we have a boy.
You want me to do my voice? It's a boy.
It is a boy. And it is a boy, and he is pretty amazing. I had the opportunity to meet, again, this name is near and dear because my husband's name is Jason. So clearly, Jason and I were meant to be best friends.
Yes.
And
Here we go again.
had the opportunity to meet Jason a couple of months ago, and he is just this powerhouse caregiver, and I love him, and his story is going to speak to you. And this is not an easy story. He's still caring is my answer. He is still caring, and I'm not going to give it away. And JJ, please do not give everything away in the bio. Okay. Like we got to allow people to have something like what? And so Jay, I want you to tell everyone about our new bestie, Jason Bender.
All right. I'll cut out a
binder.
Binder.
Yes.
Oh, well, JJ, I want you to tell everyone about our newest bestie, Jason Binder.
Sorry, I had it, Jason. I'm just saying. All right. I'll cut out a sentence so I don't give it away because Natalie says I give everything away.
She does give everything away.
I know. So today we have with us Jason Binder. Okay, guys, he is a caregiver and advocate, and he's the founder of Aware Coaching, and that is a free support service for families impacted by brain cancer. So we will have that in the show notes because I want you to remember that he's going to tell us about it. His work is rooted in a belief that no one should face a brain cancer diagnosis alone. His story, and Natalie doesn't want me to give it away, but I am going to tell you a little bit about it. Yeah. 6 weeks after moving into his dream farmhouse, he and his wife Tracy, had spent years building. His life changed forever. His wife, a healthy woman, basically, had started
she's a
getting
beast,
headaches.
Jay. I'm not going to lie to you.
Beast. Yeah,
I've met her. I've met Tracy, and she's amazing.
Okay, she runs the Boston Marathon. That's all.
That's all I'm going to say. She ran the Boston Marathon.
That was it. So days later, they were staring at a scan that showed glioblastoma, which is a terminal brain cancer. But his mission now, and because I skipped a big sentence, his mission isn't just to help his wife thrive. It's to be an example to his kids of a man and a husband who doesn't run. And I think that's really important because we're going to talk about that history of women who have been diagnosed with glioblastoma. I didn't give it away, Jason, so I'm excited to have you here because you're my neighbor. We just found out you're like a street over. So I'm really excited. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I look forward to you bringing lots of sweet treats to our house soon.
Yeah. He doesn't know that.
So you apparently know that JJ's a baker. Because I'm going to tell you, she is a baker. And so, like, I am not. I go to Fresh Market, who can sponsor us. But I go to Fresh Market and I go to some of my favorite bakeries because I can't cook. And I just own it.
Yeah.
So, but this is not about me and my lack of abilities. But this is about Jason, and so happy to finally have you on the podcast. I think this is going to be great. So let's start off. Let's start from the beginning. Give us a little bit of history about you, where you're from, and then, of course, how you and Tracy met. And you've got like a slew of kids. I mean, you got a whole basketball team. Although I'm not sure why you didn't stop and hit the sixth man. I'm not going to lie to you.
I'm good. We're
six
good.
Off the bench is good.
We're
so
good.
Tell us a little bit about your story.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Maryland. I'm an only child, and in high school, there was this girl who was sitting a few bleachers up from me, and I had the amazing pickup line of how my sweater and her socks matched. And
that's good.
That was 33 years ago, and we grew up together. We experienced a lot of life together. Went to college together. Got married after college. She's a doctorate of physical therapy. I started a career in pharma. Traveled the world. I lived in London for a couple of years.
Okay, you're cool. I'm going to be in your all's back pocket. Like, when did you? Okay, wait a second. When did you and Tracy start dating? Like, what year was it? Like
1992 we met. 1993 we started dating, if you
You're
would
going to have to
call
tell
it.
me in what year that was in high school. I have no clue about yours.
Junior year of high school
Okay,
for
so
Oh, so
me,
you're
junior.
like high
We
freshman
school
always
year for her.
sweethearts. You're high
What's
school
that?
sweethearts. You're high
Yeah,
school
high school
sweethearts.
sweethearts. Like anything, life bumps in the way of some of those things to
Oh
keep
yeah.
it pristine and perfect. But we've been through lots of life. Her parents divorced early in our relationship. My mom had a massive stroke when I was 21 and never had aphasia the rest of her
Mm,
life. My
Yeah.
dad died when I was 31. My mom passed away during COVID. So we've had lots of life that we've had to go through.
mm,
Even in our own marriage, I did plenty to try to blow it up, and through the grace of God, transformed me, and then allowed our marriage to become something that we were actually, coaching other couples to go through really hard times where trauma and grief and loss was like the core aspects of recovery.
Yeah.
So we were doing that for a really long time. And, I was in pharma. I've had 25 years of, big pharma oncology, powerhouses where I helped them transform the way they use data digital and we call it AI now. We used to call it machine learning. We used to call it big data. We used to call it predictive analytics. Like I was at the forefront of a lot of those things to help us optimize the way we were in clinical trials. So, all that being said, we went through COVID. We built our farmhouse. We moved from California with 3 kids to Pennsylvania. We picked up another kid and then moved in North Carolina and felt called for adoption while we were building our 15-acre homestead. I've got cows and chickens and goats and, you name it out back.
He's skipping over so many good things, Jay. He's killing me. He's killing me.
So
Yeah.
tell me about how old are your kids now? You got 5. So
Yeah,
how old
yeah.
are we?
Our oldest son is 17, and we've got 3 girls, 15, 13, just turned 8 last week. And then we have a 4-year-old adopted son. So we're a multiracial family, and just, I'm gonna have a son whose birth dad was 6'5", 250, and I'm not.
Yeah, you got to watch your YouTube because I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not feeling like you're 6'5", 250.
No,
I'm
I'm about 10 to 12 inches less than that, and several stones lighter.
Your house is like fun. That's why you needed
fun.
15 acres. Let's use that.
Yeah, well, we need it because we run wide open. Obviously, Tracy, being a marathoner, has inspired our kids to be phenomenal athletes. We've got triathletes who are at the national level. We've got a USAG, almost level 9, 8th grader. And then we try to figure out what to do with the last 2 kids when we've got enough time for life.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah, they're all upstairs right now. Otherwise, there'd be like multiple interruptions and screaming in the background.
We love
that.
That's
it's
fine.
live. Let me ask you this because we didn't talk about this. I appreciate you sharing. When you moved down because you're in North Carolina.
Yes.
When your mom had a stroke and you said did you participate in caregiving at that point? I mean, you're an only child.
I was 21 years old. I was a junior in college. I've learned a lot about how to talk with children in traumatic events based mainly because my dad did the best he could, but sugarcoated everything, told me everything was fine. And it never was. So that probably was one of the major, traumatic experiences in my life. And I did it, in the context of being a young adult in college. So I didn't really experience caregiving, but I'm sure it's what contributed to his early death.
Wow.
He didn't care for himself.
Oh, yeah.
He did not care for himself. And, if you don't mind, just chat a little bit about it, because it sounds like, I think like many parents, they try to protect children depending on the family dynamic. They try to protect them. I could imagine if you saying your dad sugarcoated it, is probably just didn't want you to worry in his mind.
Oh, yeah. It's
you know what I mean?
It's protection, but it's not necessarily healthy, right? It's we all have an innate desire to avoid pain at all costs. So I took away that I would be appropriate and clear and truthful, and then let them help kind of determine the drip of information and the depth of information that they wanted to hear. So, from the very beginning, I was clear about, it's a brain tumor. What does that mean? I'm not really sure. Is mom going to die? Not anytime soon. And so I kind of be really clear about, it's aggressive, it is rare, but I'm doing everything in my power to get her all the best options possible. And then they saw, the church get involved with praying over her, and like, it was a village affair at that point. But yeah, I've always tried to be really thoughtful about including all of them at the right level. I've read even recently that, the 5 to 7-year-olds, while they understand the least, they internalize the most.
Yeah.
They even project it as their own fault, which is heartbreaking. So that prompted me to have a few more conversations with them now that we're at like recurrence number 2, treatment plan number, you name it, surgery number 4+.
Well, I'm going to pause you though,
Yeah.
because I'm going to say you got to start from the beginning, because you just jumped right into the
Yeah.
middle, and
Yeah.
I want to bring everybody kind of up to speed.
Yeah.
And so we talked a little bit about your mom having a stroke, your dad caring, not probably sharing with you the full picture of probably the intensity severity just because of protection mode.
Yeah, in his inability to process. So, like, I remember there was a moment where I asked him how he was doing in the car, and I was like, "Yeah, if it was my bride, my love, I would just be heartbroken. Are you doing okay?" And he's like, "I don't want to talk about it." It's like it shut me down. So, like, as a man, not connected to your feelings or not willing to go there because it just hurts too bad. That's what I experienced, and then, I probably lived that way for a very long time until I figured out how to engage those things in a healthy way.
Right.
Yeah.
So life is going along, and you did mention that you all had some bumps in the road, some bumps that could have really derailed your marriage and could have gone separate ways, and you all would have been completely different paths, but you and your wife were able to work through that, and not only work through that, but come out on the other end saying, we want to help other people so this really doesn't happen to you, or to allow you to know you can get past this.
Absolutely.
Like, it doesn't have to destroy your marriage.
Absolutely. I was getting ready to exit corporate to do that full time, with Tracy. I was leading groups, building curriculums, coaching several couples. She was doing the same, master classes. The people we were working with were getting ready to leave the big ministry they were part of to start their own with us as their right hand. And this is all in, sexual betrayal and, that type of destruction in marriage, which most people would say there's a biblical right to have divorce, right? So like to then work through that to a point where we're
Right.
restored and healed, and then to take and wade back into that muck, created a huge amount of emotional resilience to the place where we were praying to be such an impact in the world that the enemy would have us on his top 10 most wanted.
Oh, I love that. I love that, to be trying to be on Satan's top 10.
Yeah. And then she got a brain tumor.
Well, and that's the thing. It's funny how God works in your life, is what I'll say. It's funny how, and you don't understand why you have to go through certain things. But Tracy, let's talk about Tracy getting the diagnosis and what kind of the buildup and how you're observing, because at this point, you all are pretty in tune with one another at this point. You've done the work to get through some pieces and then to support other people. And you guys are thinking, we're sailing, man. We got the wind behind our backs.
Yeah, I was really angry that we got a brain tumor after all we had gone through to recover from what I figured was going to be that's got to be the paramount summit of consequence and pain. And it was literally the building blocks to why I probably can hold my family without going south and blowing us up again, right? So like, I say that recovery process created the foundation for me to be present and to not hit the road and think that's a better option. So leading up to that, headaches. She went to see her primary care. They said take more ibuprofen, more headaches. Went to our friends who are eye doctors to see if they could see something on a retinal scan. More headaches. I went to church and brought a new family to church with us. She went to the ER and got a CAT scan. They found a 4-centimeter brain tumor. We were kind of worried, but not really wanting to allow that into the foreground. And then, immediately I'm telling the kids, Mom's got something going on. I got to go. We don't have any family in North Carolina. They're up north. So I probably called one of our family friends, and they came and hang with the kids while I went to be with Tracy. We had to get into another hospital that had an MRI because she was at like a local just ER basic, capabilities. Right. We knew people who worked at the bigger hospital. They started pulling strings. They did the MRI, tell them more about the tumor. And then that's when the people at that place had the audacity to suggest we could do surgery tomorrow. And I was like, so how much experience do you have doing these surgeries? Oh, I've been doing about 6 months. And, the scar will be from like here to here. And I was like, yeah, I know where I'm not going to be doing this immediately.
Well, and I'm going to pause you for a second because I got to take a break now that we're back on track. And because that way I can get because I got to hear the story, and JJ's not heard it. So we'll be right back.
CareForward is a technology platform that connects volunteers with seniors, the disabled, and those with chronic or complex health conditions, offering support like transportation, home visits, and more. Details online at careforward.io.
All right, everybody, we are back here with Jason Binder. And Natalie she says JJ hasn't heard it, so she wants to hear the story. So I'm ready, Jason, because you've gone into this small hospital and they've told you all they can do basically like in 24 hours to save your wife. So I'm a little nervous about this. So give me the story.
Well, and that's not atypical for brain cancer. You're in shock, right? Or she's 43, 44, marathoner. She doesn't eat junk. She's not sedentary. There's not a family history. This is not supposed to be happening. So when you're in shock, a lot of people, and she was like this, let's just get it done. Let's just schedule it. I'm like, no, never. Cause she just wants to do it. And a lot of people with glioblastoma die in their local hospital because you need specialty care. So I'm in pharma. I know that there's Duke, and I know that Duke's huge. I also know that Wake Forest is a National Cancer Institute center. And then I obviously at AstraZeneca, my customer base was the senior executive team. So CEO, head of R&D, head of oncology commercial. So I'm just sending out emails to all of them. Who do you know? Who should I talk to? And within no time at all, I'm connected to all the top brain neuro-oncologists at Duke. And then within our church community, we had someone in one of the small groups that was a fellow with the very well-known and reputable brain surgeon at Wake Forest. And within 24 hours, we were at the end of that surgeon at Wake Forest schedule, and he spent an hour with us.
Wow.
We don't know anything about what the tumor really is. He's just explaining all the things about what we don't know and just sitting with us. The Duke experience was a little bit different. Not as able to sit with us through all that. Right. A little more of a bigger system and machine. Right. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. It's just not what we needed at that time. We needed someone to sit with us every moment. And so we decided to get surgery and care at Wake Forest, which is about 30 miles from our house. We had surgery. We were told that they'd be able to diagnose the cancer on the bedside. They couldn't. She was done. We waited for them to tell us what the diagnosis was. I jumped back into life and took my son to Sarasota for his triathlon. And when I got back after our plane was canceled and we had to find someone to drive us home, that around midnight, she was throwing up. And this is about 3 to 4 weeks later from the first surgery. So I took her to the ER and they had grown back.
Wow.
Completely.
Did you know at the time it was glioblastoma?
No, we did not.
They just knew it was something, a tumor in the brain.
It looked like a blue cell tumor that had what they call PNET features. You'll have to put a link in the description for what that is. It's a technical word, but typically it's like young boys get this type of brain cancer, not grown women.
That's
And
interesting.
there's no like big data on it. There's like use cases, and it's like 9 months of prognosis. But we didn't know that. And then after the second resection, 6 weeks later, they dove straight into radiation. They knew they had something they couldn't mess with, but we were still waiting for the diagnosis, even into treatment. And obviously, you want to know what you have before you treat it. That's why they waited. But by waiting, ended up having a second resection. So that's like, double trauma. So like, I remember specifically, like, we got through the first one. I still felt good. The second one happened. Imagine the biggest balloon popping in the world. Like, you can't really like pick yourself back up easily after that.
Are you still working during that time?
Yeah, I'm glad
I'm still working full time. I've got a very high visibility role, and at that point I told them what was going on, and they're like, do what you need to do. And I was like, I probably need to not work for a bit. And they said, okay. They just said, okay.
Did you take FMLA?
They said, Jason, just come back when you're ready. And they didn't go down any of those roads because they knew that when you start this in the US, when you start those clocks, right, you can't unstart those clocks in terms of short-term disability and FMLA. Wow. They're like, you just tell us what you need.
That's so interesting. As a big pharma, that company, it gives you a different feel because you don't hear that as often. If you really think about it, you don't hear that.
In that moment, they're very gracious.
Yeah.
They didn't have to be, right? They could have just followed the rule book, which a lot of big pharma would do. Yeah, but in this case, it was a blessing to allow me to essentially, I took 3 months off of work. And that was all during radiation. And remember, we had just moved into this house and we're 800 feet off the road. We didn't even have a driveway. And we're supposed to go to radiation, to Wake Forest back and forth. And then one day, a big giant dump truck showed up with gravel and just started laying gravel and laying all the rock. And then someone showed up with a skid steer and started grading it out. And it was just the small groups from church just deciding to see a need and meet a need. And all of a sudden, we've got a driveway.
That says so much, though, about your team. I want to back up for a second because you and your wife are going through this, and you've got the baby nuggets, your kids, and you had already adopted the fifth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 18-month-old.
Yeah, let's be really clear.
At that time. You said 18 months at that time.
He was 18 months old, and his mom got sick, and I was trying to get him into preschools, and he, whenever you go into adoption, you enter trauma, and he was asked to not come back to 3 preschools.
Yeah, so he had he probably had some in utero stuff.
Yeah, I imagine so, because we got him when he was 36 hours, so it's not like there's a lot of trauma between birth and seeing us, but like, if imagine if you guys are moms, like, you're carrying that child and loving it every moment just by knowing it's there, and like you're doing the things that are going to make sure that child is coming into the world with every possible, opportunity. Contrast that with someone who doesn't want a pregnancy but decided to do adoption, praise the Lord, but maybe isn't doing all those things. Maybe it's hating life every day,
Yeah.
So that transmits, and then I've had to deal with that while keeping Tracy afloat and the kids afloat, and then
I think that's my thing is you've got 5 children, and they're all under 18, and you've got an 18-month-old, and you're trying to figure out and get to appointments and get to this. Oh, and you don't have any direct family. You have church family.
Yeah.
And so did you and Tracy talk about what was the conversation about, respectfully, and I'm going to say this because this is a clean podcast, but how the hell are we going to do this? How are we going to raise the children, get you, and you have not a little cancer, you have a big cancer, as in the head.
You're the worst one.
You're the winner of the worst cancer. and
happy to give that away. I don't know that we had a conversation. We just went to action. We're doers. Our whole life's been doers.
Right.
Move across world, move across country, move, the Spirit led us to North Carolina.
Yep.
without a job, in a window where like I could get a loan closed with an active employment without being employed. So like, yeah, the church community, the school communities, the gymnastics community, the preschool community, the triathlon community. I essentially, there was a few moms that are like, what do you need? I'm like, I think I need food. We didn't have an extra driver at that point. My kids need to get to school and need to get home, they need to get to practice, and they need to get home. They need lunch packed. And then it just happened. People, the women organized and made it happen. And Tracy was really mad that I was doing all this, and she wasn't involved in the text strings and things like that. And I was like, you just need to, take treatment and recover, and I'll figure out the rest. So yeah, that's how that worked.
Yeah. I find that I think it's so interesting. Emily, our younger sister, worked for a care agency for a window of time. And she always said that the men made really good caregivers. And that's because they, from a logistical standpoint, they just kind of like there were skill sets that you had that men have that are a little different than women. And she would always say that. And so let me ask you, do you think your past experiences and your skill set, like think about your work skill set and your strengths areas, do you think those helped you in trying to navigate? Because the one thing I will say is you've built your team around non-blood relatives, and everybody has just said, we're going to put our arms around you and do that. But tell me about that skill set. What do you think the biggest skill sets you pulled on?
Well, my entire career in pharma is change agents and transformations. Mm-hmm. So like I see a problem and I would tell people in interviews, like, what's your superpower? And I would always use the example of Russell Crowe in A Beautiful Mind, without all the illusions. Well, maybe I have some, but like you could just see the solution light up.
Yeah.
I can do that. I don't know why. That's one of my gifts. So like I can see the problem, and then as a person of action, I just go. And then it's around like, if you're willing to be part of the solution, then I'll ask you what your gifts are, and then I'll put you to work and get out of the way. Because I know everyone's heart's in the right place, so like I don't have to worry about intention. And I didn't have any other choices but to lean on these folks, and I believe them to be people that we knew through relationships. Yeah. So I was trusting in them. And then I had got to know them like personally through small groups or just sharing life in school. So I was willing to just let those things go and let the church activate.
Yeah. It's interesting to me, Jay. I feel like you're going to ask a question. Go ahead.
She knows. I'm like, huh? So I hear you saying it's interesting, but I hear, yeah, exactly. Natalie says that this whole group around you, it's the South. Jason is what it is. Like, we're just like that. We're those people. Well. Like, we're bringing you a pitcher of sweet tea and a cake. And then we're like, let us take your kids to the pool. So we're those people. But I hear that, but I also, these are like the first two. You've had 2 surgeries. So my question is, but how long has Tracy, when did this start? What year did this start? Because I'm trying to get my
February 2022.
22. Yep. Okay.
So like radiation, all this initial surge happened in that time through June or July of that year. That it's all the way through the summertime.
Well, and this is where I'm going to take a break right here, because we're going to pick right back up.
Okay.
We'll be right back.
I don't know about you, but my inbox is always cluttered with useless emails. But there's one I always open: the Confessions of a Reluctant Caregiver newsletter. You may say, Natalie, what makes yours so special? Well, I'm biased, but don't just take my word for it. Here's what our subscribers say they love. First, it comes once per month, and you can read it in under 5 minutes. Next, you'll find amazing tips and resources to use in your everyday life. And who doesn't love a recommendation? These sisters do, which is why we share sister-approved products and discount links to save you time and money. And of course, you're first to know about the upcoming month's confessions. Just like our show, You're guaranteed to relate, be inspired, leave with helpful tips and resources, and of course, laugh. Go to our website, confessionsofareluctantcaregiver.com, to sign up for our newsletter today.
All right, everybody, we are back here with Jason Binder. We're first of all talking about the love of a Southern community. I have convinced him that this only happens in the South.
Oh, he built the team all right.
He's got a
the
team
right
like
team.
none other. He's got a team like none other. But Tracy, when we talked about this February of 22 through really June of 22 is
Okay, start that again.
So we're back, and Jason, we've talked about, first of all, his team. He's got a great team going on, but the timeline for this, February 22 to June of 22, is really these first and second recurrences, or first diagnosis and then recurrence. So take me through that timeline, because Tracy is still, she's active. She's here at the house. They're at the house with you. She's not here at my house. But tell me what's going on. Like, tell me how this progresses.
Yeah. So after the second surgery, maybe the end of March, we started brain and spinal radiation. So 5 days a week. She ended up doing 37 rounds of radiation, which is brutal. So we're driving to Wake Forest every morning from Greensboro and coming back, and it wrecked her appetite and her taste. She tasted metal. She could only eat two things. Again, one of the Southern moms brought her gluten-free biscuits from the local farmer's market. This lady was doing a side hustle and did everything gluten-free, and Tracy's gluten-free and I'm gluten-free. So like the biscuits tasted good. So she ate biscuits. And then she only liked hamburgers. So we had a hamburger at this one restaurant every day for, I don't know, 2 months. And then she'd go home and pass out, and I would pass out. And then, I'd see a friend over, like we had a tree down on the property, just over here with his chainsaw cutting up the tree. And I'm too tired to even go out to say hi, feel guilty that I can't do it myself.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you say guilt. Let me ask you this, and I hope this is, well, I mean, this could come across as stereotypical, but I mean, this is what I think about my husband. My husband does not consider me his caregiver. He considers me his wife. And I think there's a lot of things around that. And it's not because he doesn't care about me or whatnot. I think it's a lot of how he was raised and traditional roles and masculine roles, and what does masculinity really mean? And so my question really is around, how does,
just 1 second. I need
Yep.
to pause for 1 second.
Yep.
The dog is just barking.
Yeah, he's losing his I thought that was him.
For once, it's not mine. It's not Gab's. She's asleep.
Okay. As he beats his dog. It's okay. I love Jason.
Hey.
Okay, that's hilarious. He just came in. So he just came into the office. He's like, I'm going to be a part of this.
I hear him.
I see. Oh my gosh, that looks like a terrier.
Yeah, Westy. It's driving me crazy, but I'm ADHD, so I couldn't listen to you and hear him.
Well, I couldn't. It's coming through on the video, the audio.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, no worries. All right, we're going to jump back in. All right. Okay, so you were just talking about, you said the word guilt, and we were just, I'm asking you about, masculinity, and tell me about some of the emotions, thoughts, feelings that you're going through at this time, because I mean, you're having to give up a lot of control. You're sitting there saying, I didn't even feel like going outside and telling the guy, thanks for doing it. I just do this. And you're not at the end of this journey. You're right in the middle of it. And so if you think about it, and this happened with our mom too, if you're not careful, you'll wear out your help. And so tell me about some feelings, emotions you're going through. And then I want to ask you about, how are you keeping the help?
Great point. It's something that I've been thinking a lot about recently. I say thank you a lot in those days. How appreciative I am. I try to keep people aware of what's going on, because I'm getting, I had like 13 text strings going and like updates on social media, and I kind of consolidate all in one place. I've got her parents who are far away wanting to know all the details every moment. And like, I got to measure what you say about brain cancer, because people are going to grab onto every little detail and assume the worst.
Right.
So I held a lot inside just for me to manage and hold. And then I would give a little bits of details here and there as they were validated, because, there's time between getting an MRI report and seeing the doctor, then knowing what you're going to do. So getting bits and pieces out, gratitude. And then Tracy and I, like she wanted to go to church every Sunday. So they saw her just worshiping at the front of the church. And like, I can't tell you how many people have told us what an inspiration she's been. Just seeing someone who's given that, really bad hand and just, not wanting to stop at all. So I think seeing her was probably the inspiration. I don't feel like, I thought a lot about handing things off as much. I just remember that one time when like another man's helping me, I should go out. I should go be part of that. And I just couldn't. So I remember that one specifically. But now 3 years. So then at 3 years, most people don't get to that point. We rented out a whole party, a whole place, and had a party and invited all the people who had poured into us and just loved on them. And, I toasted them and let them know how much we cared. So like it took us 3 years to kind of give back or acknowledge them in a formal way. And so we did that. But like it seems more challenging now to get the same amount of momentum in care. And I asked myself, like, did we burn them out? Did people just like feel like they're on to something else? It's very isolating to be in this space. I talk a lot about, I can't remember the last time our family was invited over for a barbecue. It's been years. Maybe it's because we've got 5 kids and like they know we're a tsunami. But like we're not as social anymore. Tracy's not as social, and like the culture in the South is, I think the women connect the dots and connect the families and then do the things, and then when she's out, there isn't much connection, right? So like, and then she's had so much fatigue because of all the medicine. She can't stay up past 7. Like someone gave us tickets to Hamilton at the Greensboro Tanner Center. We went and we stayed for the first half because by intermission she was exhausted, so we went home. So like that's the kind of experience that is today, when there was an initial surge and all those things, and like, people's lives change, and we're still kind of captured.
It sounds like you're a little bit almost like held hostage. Like your life is in this pause, in this circular, just kind of go to doctor's appointments. And I remember that myself, just feeling like, and that's why I think it's almost like a merry-go-round that never stops and you can't really get off. And I remember I think that's why that's where I realized I was not okay at the end of everything happening when we came back from New York and I've never thought about this until you kind of said, everybody just kind of, it almost become blurry if you think about it. And when the merry-go-round finally stopped, I looked around and I couldn't figure out where I was. And I felt very disoriented and wasn't sure what I was supposed to do or where I was supposed to go. And I think I wonder about how do we pull that, how do we stretch that out? Because what you're saying is so authentic about, like, we've been caregiving for 5 years and we know moms respectfully burned through people. Like, let's call it for what it is. We've burned through people. They can only handle so much. And if you really think about it, at some point, and this is the hardest thing to say, people, to see you guys going through such a struggle is very hard. And I wonder if that's part of the pull away, because it's like, oh, it's so hard. It's why I'm not invited to barbecues, because what are we going to talk about? Like, you know what I mean? That's how I.
Yeah. Well, grief is always the elephant in the room, and no one knows how to address it or say it or deal with it. In all due honesty, this disease, we've overextended our stay, 3 or 4 times now. So like, I don't know what people think, but it's definitely a nightmare I keep asking to wake up from.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. You and Tracy, you openly say you went through struggles prior, and you with your marriage. Tell me about your marriage now, and what this has done, and how this transformation has occurred, and what you could share with others.
Yeah. So I'm more wanting to talk about feelings because it keeps me grounded. She now is more action oriented. So it's nice when she does break down and grieve. I feel like there's more for me to do. The really nasty thing about brain cancer is the ongoing deficits that you experience with your loved one in terms of cognition, executive functioning, speech. So like in the middle of treatment, it's harder to connect because fatigue, and those types of things. So we try to do date nights. They're really early in the evening, which is fine. I don't mind so much. There's a lot of, I don't know what brain cancer did to her, but like for the first month, we watched every episode of 22 seasons of Deadliest Catch that she never had an interest in before.
It's interesting.
We went through all of those, and then like she likes to watch, YouTube videos of like fails, and she always wants to search funniest pets. I don't know. So we'll sit and watch that together. So that's what that looks like. She still likes to go for walks, and I'll do that with her when I can. I think the dreaming is not as big anymore. A vacation, like our father also wants to send us on vacation. And I'm like, the only vacation I want is the kids not to be at home and we stay home, because going somewhere is such a stressful endeavor. It's not relaxing at all. Because I don't know when we're going to need a hospital, where the hospital is. Where like when I'm at home, I've got everyone at my fingertips.
Yeah.
So it's definitely like different. It feels more caregiving oriented now than when earlier in the process, which is sad. But we do devotions every morning. She pulls me into those. Sometimes I don't want to do them, but she like we're gonna listen to our stuff. Like, yep. So like very regimented. All those core characteristics of her are now more on the surface.
Yeah.
That grit, determination, doing is really there. And then like paired with the short-term memory loss, losing her phone every 12 minutes, just, one of the biggest gifts we had this past week being away for treatment was some family friends came over and organized our closet that we never got a chance to organize our closet. And once we moved in, we still had 50 boxes unpacked when this all happened. And they finally like made something I would avoid in our closet, something I could actually walk through.
Wow. It's really, it's like, it is life interrupted. It is, and this is cancer has interrupted and really almost kind of feels a little bit paralyzing. And so, but I hear you I don't hear you saying, look, it's not roses, people. It ain't roses and unicorns and all that. But I do hear resilience in you and the things that you're going to continue to do, the things that you're trying to do to remain connected, the things that you're doing, because the prognosis for this is still the same. And this goes back though, true, still though, we're all going to die at some point. The problem is for you guys is that that time is more limited for your wife. And so how do you take that time that you have and how do you maximize that to the best of your ability? Because you've got 5 children. You're 18 that at the time when you had that child, 18 months old, this child has only known your wife being ill. And how do you, I almost want to say, how are the kids 3 years later, 4 years later? Do you know what I mean? Like, how are the kids?
Yeah. So the oldest doesn't want to know anything. So I have to pull him in sometimes, let him know. The second oldest wants to know everything. So I have to push her away to reassure her. The third one doesn't want to know anything and goes and runs. The 8-year-old daughter just knows mom's sick and, wants to know when it's all going to be done. And the little guy doesn't have a word for this. So how are they doing? I feel like because now we're on second recurrence and in clinical trial and experimental treatment, everyone's on a little more edge than normal. They're like, is this going to work? And I'm like, I don't know. Well, how come you keep saying you don't know? Stop telling me you don't know. I don't know. Be more certain. I'm certain I don't know.
It's hard for people that don't have life experience to understand.
It's hard for,
if you really think about
me to not have any type of certainty to reassure your children that their mom's going to be okay tomorrow.
Yeah. Do you, and this is personal, so if you say, no, I'm not answering that. Do you have them in therapy? How are they doing in school? Because these are things that I think that are important for sandwich generation caregivers that have children, people that have children, they're trying to understand what's going on with the adults.
Yeah. So I'll start with me. There was a point after the first year where I was tying my shoes in the mudroom and one of the kids goes, Dad, Dad, Dad. And I was like, whoa, no, what's happening? A little guy put his hands in the garbage. And I had to go take a nap because my heart rate went so high and I kept on getting disoriented. I was having panic attacks. So I started doing trauma therapy and EMDR to kind of just be able to not go like that. And I did that for a year. 2 of my kids have done counseling for anxiety and just having someone to talk to, kind of walk with them. And I've thought about what is it going to look like if something does happen? And, you're always rolling your brain into the what ifs. I know when I'm grieving the most is when my brain starts to write her eulogy.
Have you two talked about it? Like she says, this is what I want for the kids. Like, this is the plan for you. Is it something that you two verbally talk about?
No, because we're still on the path of decades, not days.
Got it.
We have done all of those, all the estate planning and all the documents, but I don't think we will have that conversation until it's staring us in the face, which is probably going to be the wrong thing to do, but it's just,
that's okay.
It feels like giving up a little bit for us who are have a dream, go make it. Our whole life.
Yeah. You said that, Tracy, you're now in clinical trials, and some people are averse to those. Some people are afraid of those. Can you tell me just briefly about decision to do that and just move forward with it? How you guys got into clinical trials?
Well, the assumption you're making is that we had options.
Okay.
Because of the 2 surgeries, that took away a bunch of options. Because she had spinal radiation, you hear all the great things about immunotherapy and CAR T cells. Can't do any of those. So really limited after the last treatment approach progressed. So we didn't have many options, and this one seemed good. So going into my scientific experience, I really know that for glioblastoma, you have to have a multidisciplinary approach, and you're taking a standard of care chemotherapy, which has some DNA destruction capabilities, plus a new molecule, which, brain tumors are really cruel. They hide. Your immune system doesn't know they're there.
Yeah.
So this medicine that we're taking presumably turns it on or goes from cold to hot. So your immune system goes, oh, what in the world? And then also delivers a cytotoxic medicine. Yeah. So we've got a standard of care chemo, the ability to turn your immune system on, and then something that's delivering the medicine. And we know that it goes through the blood-brain barrier, which is also another thing. And I could get into how people use mouse studies to propagate hope, and it's really destructive and predatory. But we didn't really have a lot of options.
Yeah.
I know, Jay, we're kind of at the end of our time, and I want to I feel like I need to tell you, Jason, that I love you.
Thank you.
because I feel like there's not a lot of folks that are going through this level and this duration, the intensity and severity of what you guys have been dealing with, and being parents and trying to support your wife and trying to make it financially, because we didn't even talk about finances. We didn't even talk about how probably devastating this can be for your family and how do you make sure everything's going.
Oh, especially when you get laid off in the middle of it.
Yeah, because
And
you got laid off in the middle of it, correct?
yeah, and I've had vertigo, and I just got through blood clots in my leg.
Yeah.
Is that
So-
from not taking care of yourself, or
Probably some of that,
Yeah.
and just chronic stress, diagnosed PTSD, diagnosed caregiver burnout, diagnosed anxiety, depression, all those things, insomnia.
Well,
and
and
go ahead.
no, Jay, go.
I know you said, I know we hadn't really talked about, well, you said about getting laid off in the middle. I'm kind of curious, anything to do with caregiving, do you think? That was an underlying, or was that time off, or kind of a...
I don't think so. I don't want to believe that to be true.
Yeah, okay, good.
For an oncology drug development organization, that would be a bad optics.
Yeah.
That's bad.
I think it had more to do with some of their internal, where do we want our workforce to exist and not exist, than anything
I'd
else.
rather, and let's believe that, and because I agree with you, the optics would be bad if they did, and it doesn't align with what the beginning felt like.
Yeah.
Part 2 of our conversation.
Exactly. Let me ask you this. I know that, and again, just kind of thinking about going into our sister questions, which we do nothing but sister questions the whole time. Spoiler alert. And so, but I look at information that you sent me and things that we've talked about, and you talk about you're the founder of Aware Coaching, a free support service for families impacted by brain cancer. So you're not only just taking care of your wife and being a part of that team, because I know there are people, but you're the primary. You're also still trying to advocate, and you're trying to help other people who may be going through this experience, maybe earlier on the journey or equal to, and potentially even people who may have been successful in their body's response to the treatments. And, what can you learn from those people? I just have to say, I think that's absolutely inspiring that you still have the wherewithal and the resilience and internally to be able to say, and I'm going to take that on too.
Yeah. It started as wanting to do similar marriage coaching for folks impacted by brain cancer. And it's kind of morphed into advocacy that I've done at Head of the Hill. It's morphed into developing AI capabilities to help families navigate all these questions so they don't end up having surgery in the local hospital after finding it and end up, not leaving ever.
Yeah.
So I provide those for free. I'm always answering questions on Facebook support groups at this point. People ask me questions about different things, and I think I'm uniquely experienced with my pharma background, my technical background, my marriage coaching background, and being a caregiver. I'm kind of perfectly designed to do those things, and it gives me energy. It's probably a distraction and avoidance for my current state, but it's a positive and healthy coping versus a destructive one.
Go ahead, Jay. Do you have a question?
Oh no, I was preparing my my sister question.
You continue to prepare. Build your 3 and 12.
Yeah. So that was a question people asked around how do you build community? So most people don't have community.
It's true.
Right? Especially in the social media. Like I get my fill on likes and, reposts or whatever, and I do this fair share of that. So it's biblically inspired. So whenever Jesus went away to do something really important, he had James, John, and Peter come with them. Hey guys, I'm going to the garden to pray, stay awake. And they don't. But those three went to the transfiguration. Those three went they were the inner circle of everything that was going on that Jesus revealed to them. And I've got Kyle, Matt, and Andrew who were on my group text. And it's this past week when, I had a blood clot and Tracy was really sick. And I was I want to tap out. I'm tired. I'm done. Like, they were praying for me. They were like, they all showed up at the house where the kids were and did stuff with them. And like, they know everything that's going on. And then the 12 are like, what community am I in? Is a small group or Bible study or men's ministry? Like, those are the 12 that they're not all the way in, but they're the ones that are like, throwing me over their shoulder when I need to be, praying for me, just, man, I'm so sorry, man. Like, I can't imagine. Hey, did you watch the Eagles game last night? Because it looked really good. And like, that's my 12. So like, I tell everybody, male or female, get a 3 and get a 12. And most people are like, I don't have anyone. Most dudes have 0. They've got drinking buddies and video game, friends that do childlike things. So that's not really what this is at all. It's someone who's pouring into you, pointing you up to Christ, connecting you back to your wife, in all instances. And then, we're there to get your back.
I've never heard of get your 3 and 12. And I wanted to make sure that we got that because it's so true. And here's the thing, whether you believe in God and Jesus or not, it's sound advice.
Oh yeah.
Get your 3 and 12. Get your 3 and 12. And that'll be something that just kind of sticks right here in my head because I think about that for who we had. And I feel pretty confident I had 3 and 12 without question during our cancer treatments. And I could name my 3 for sure. And 2 of them were my sisters.
Yeah.
And they were always there. And then I have another friend, some other friend that was really close. Jay, what's your sister question? I don't even want to keep going because I'm like, I could just keep talking.
Okay. You wrote something in your bio that was really intriguing to me. And it was that female patients are 6 times more likely to be abandoned.
Yeah.
And I have never heard this. And you said, my goal is that is not going to be me. I'm not going to be one of those. Could you just tell me about that a little bit and why you say that's not going to be me?
So as someone in pharma that did product development, you, in the scientific community, you need data to support claims. And I was really getting into this relational health need to keep marriages together during trying times. Emotional resilience and emotional intimacy is the bedrock. Most men don't know how to do that. So how can I teach them? And then I came across this publication from the American Cancer Society in 2009 that essentially said that, there's gender disparity in caregiving, and that when the wife has a chronic disease and even calls out primary brain tumor, there's in the data set that they had, there was a 6x increase in separation and divorce. And then and then usually it's that response, wow. And then the next one is, and I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And
as a dude that almost blew up his own marriage and then came through, like, the paper suggested it's a lack of commitment. Excuse me, one second. Sorry. It's not a lack of commitment. It's a lack of capability, to hold all of that, because you don't have your 3 and your 12. You don't have emotional awareness. If you don't have emotional awareness, you can't have empathy. If you can't have empathy and emotional awareness, you can't have emotional resilience. So like you said, it's not going to be me, because I've got a son who's 17 who's going to watch me. I've got girls who are watching me. I know how my dad didn't do the things that I'm going to do now. And then all the men that I've coached through their process, they want to believe that you can never go back. Like, so many people say that part of recovery is relapse, and I don't subscribe to that at all. No, you don't have to go back if you know what's coming at you. So not only do I not want to be that statistic, I want to destroy that statistic.
I love that.
Instead of 88% of those couples experiencing that, I want it to be 0%.
I love that.
I could not absolutely love that anymore. And that's actually where I'll stop us. And I do have one question and it feels so flippant now but I mean, I really don't want to, like, that statement, that is speaking to every man, but it's also speaking to every human, because it doesn't just mean men aren't the only ones who need some emotional resilience.
Yeah, everybody does.
And I can tell you right now, yes, that's my answer, because that's important. And so if that spoke to you, trust your gut and listen to it. I always end with this question because it brings me joy to hear about how you experience joy. And my question is what is your favorite guilty pleasure? What is the thing that you do just for you that brings you joy?
It is McDonald's caramel sundaes with double caramel.
Oh my gosh, McDonald's. You need to love on Jason. And honestly, if you could just send him a machine that works consistently.
Oh my goodness. That's like the ultimate thing. It's broken.
That is the ultimate. Yes, the machine is always broken. Oh. McDonald's, please get better. They're cleaning it. So Jason, his favorite is, it's not double, but he loves a McDonald's sundae with caramel. And it brings him so much happiness, exactly as yours, because for him, he can taste the caramel.
Oh, nice.
And for someone who can't taste, there you go.
I get that.
Oh, I love it. Well, you know what, Jason, thank you so much for being with us. This has just been such a blessing, and you sharing your just authentic, honest story and where you're at right now, because you're not done yet, sir.
No, we're not.
And you're not out. You're not out. And so we will continue to pray for you and your wife and the babies, and regardless of how old they are. And we appreciate you being here. Jay, you want to close us out?
Absolutely. Thank everybody for being here, especially Jason. And until we confess again, we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.